On behalf of the League of Women Voters of South San Mateo County, I welcome the candidates and especially you, the audience, to this forum for City Council for Menlo Park, District 3. I am Linda Liebes, and I will be your moderator. The League of Women Voters is a national, nonpartisan volunteer organization of women and men. Our mission is to encourage your active and informed participation in government at every level. The League does not endorse candidates or political parties. Our sole interest is in helping voters gain fair and unbiased information in order to make an informed decision on or before Election Day, November 3rd. In addition to this forum, I encourage you to visit the California State League of Women Voters election website, votersedge.org, for information about all of the candidates and measures on your ballot. Please note that this forum is being recorded and it will be available for replay on our League website soon. The 2020 elections are the first time the League has hosted candidate forums online via Zoom webinars. Here are the procedures for tonight's candidate forum. Please know, first of all, that if your connection drops, you may easily rejoin by returning to your confirmation email and once again clicking the link you received after registration. During the registration for this event, members of the public were invited to submit questions for the candidates. The questions you hear tonight have been drawn from those submissions. Questions from the audience are also welcome during tonight's forum, and we will ask them of the candidates if time permits. To send our team a question for the candidates during this event, please type it into the Q&A in Zoom. Our question sorters are League volunteers, Debbie Mayo and Juliana Dodick. A League member has drawn numbers to determine which candidate goes first. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to make an opening statement and 2 minutes for a closing statement. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. A League volunteer, Ellen Kudamura, will monitor the time. She will hold up a yellow paddle when you have 30 seconds left to speak, and then a red stop paddle when your time is up. There is one seat to be elected to the Menlo Park City Council, and there are 3 candidates. The candidates are Max Fennell, Chelsea Nguyen, and Jan Wallison. As I said before, the candidate speaking order was determined randomly for the order of the opening statements, and the reverse order will be used for the closing statements. The order of speaking is as follows: Max Fennell, Chelsea Nguyen, and Jan Wallison. Mr. Fennell, your opening statement.
Hi everyone, I am Max Fennell. I have lived in Menlo Park for about 5 years. I'm a small business owner as well as a professional triathlete. I am running for city council because, well, before I even announced I was going to run, Karen Grove from Jen Wilson's campaign reached out to me and asked me not to run. And in a sense, tried to silence my voice and the voice of the people that I represent. What that made me realize is we need to start electing people that when they say things in public, they don't do something different in private. It's very important that we elect people that come from us, that come from the people, that can relate to the people, because we, the people, actually matters. There are significant issues at stake here in Menlo Park, and it's very important that the people that we elect can draw on personal experiences so that they can provide honest and real solutions to the crisis that we are facing. And with that, I'm excited to answer your questions.
Thank you. Chelsea Nguyen.
My name is Chelsea Nguyen, and I have lived in Menlo Park for approximately 40 years. I came to America as a refugee. Menlo Park Presbyterian Church sponsored my family from a California refugee camp. We are a family that believes in public service. I am a United States Air Force combat veteran. Both my sons have served in the military. I am ready to be a public servant again. I am currently a program manager at a tech company. I also spent many years as an organizer and volunteer for various political candidates. I have experience in leadership, strategic planning, administration, HR, and finance. I have handled multi-million-dollar budget. But good change has to come from all levels of government. I am running for Menlo Park City Council District 3 because I believe we can do more for our community. I believe we can and should put affordable housing on the forefront. Currently, we do not have a robust low-income rental program. My life experience is different than any other council member in the history of the city. Voting for me would mean Menlo Park will have a new voice, one with a different perspective that can bring a spirited engagement to the political discourse. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Jan Wallison.
Thank you, Linda and the League of Women Voters for hosting this event tonight. My name is Jen Wallison, and I've lived in Menlo Park for approximately 7 years. I live in Vintage Oaks with my family, my husband Gabe, my 12-year-old daughter, my 10-year-old son, and our yellow lab. In 2017, I decided that finally someone had to do something about the streets and that there weren't safe ways for children to walk and bike to school. I founded Parents for Safe Routes. I studied what was happening in neighboring communities. I developed events such as Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day, borrowing from the San Mateo County efforts. I joined other local and regional task force coalitions working with stakeholders from the fire district to the county to the town of Atherton. And I also represent Parents for Safe Routes on the City Council appointed Transportation Master Plan Oversight and Outreach Committee. I've organized hundreds of parents and community members, and we successfully lobbied for a citywide Safe Routes to School program and a cross-town bike route on Oak Grove to connect children from Hillview and MA. In 2018, this program was honored by the Silicon Valley Bike Coalition and also by the San Mateo County Office of Education. As I learned more about transportation and safe routes, I began to understand the interconnected nature of many of the topics in our town, from land use, housing, sustainability, and equity, and realized that these issues all needed to be addressed together. I'm an original core member of Menlo Together, which believes that Menlo Park can be a multi-generational, sustainable, integrated, and diverse community. I'm running because City Council is where the critical decisions are made in our community. I believe that we need to have housing at all income levels throughout our city. That climate change is here and we need to address it locally. I support the Climate Action Plan, which looks to make Menlo Park carbon neutral by 2030. I believe we need safe streets so that people of all ages and abilities can get around our town in all different modes of travel. And all these issues can't be looked in a vacuum. They need to be looked at together. These are difficult times. COVID-19 is here. Our city budget is hurting. We're down $12.7 million in revenue as projected for this year. Our small businesses are hurting. Systemic racial and economic inequities have been exposed. There are big issues in front of us. We need bold, courageous, experienced leadership that knows how our city works, knows how to bring people together, and can lead our community into the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take our first question, and Mr. Fennell will go first, and then Chelsea Nguyen, and then Jan Willison. The first question for all three candidates. What are your 3 priorities for the Menlo Park City Council?
My main priorities for City Council of Menlo Park is housing, community relations with our police, and climate change. I think it's very important that we start off with very significant solutions to address the housing crisis that we're facing. I'm a long-term renter, so when it comes to providing solutions, I'm able to draw from what I'm experienced. I can talk to my neighbors. I have been talking to my neighbors. We're all in the same situation. Community relations. I'm the only one on this panel that can sit here and say that my life is at risk with police engagement. And it's very important that the people that are providing solutions to this issue are the ones that are directly affected from this situation. I'm one of probably the very few people that have to avoid driving in certain neighborhoods all throughout Silicon Valley because the police terrorize certain neighborhoods. I've been pulled over 5 separate times since I've lived here in Silicon Valley, and that needs to stop. And most importantly, climate change. Climate change is something that we can all have a direct effect on. We need to make it easier for people to travel in our community, and we need to make it so that those of us that don't have the economic means, we can have easier access to the transit system and more access to homes.
Thank you. Go ahead. Chelsea.
Yes.
Chelsea.
My three top priorities are affordable housing. I know that this is a big issue and an issue that has been used by many candidates in the past, but nothing has been done really. Not much, not enough. It has been, the housing program, the Memo housing program is still at 15% all these years. Nothing has changed. And our middle class is shrinking. And we need to raise that to at least 25 to 30%. Secondly, I believe that we need to have a better transportation system. We live in the #1 technology area in the whole world, and we can't even solve a problem of having transportation that is run on clean energy, and it has been very disappointing to me. We need a system that runs on clean energy that just not within Menlo Park, but throughout the peninsula. That's what I would like. The third thing is climate change. It is a serious situation, what we have seen this year with the fires. And I think we should do more. As a city, we can be a leader in this. I would like for us to be either carless by using one, the transportation system I talked about, and two, if people drive car, we should be driving electric vehicle or hybrid cars. I hope to have a city that is hopefully carless, or that we do not produce carbon within the next 10 years. That's my goal. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Linda.
Yeah.
As I mentioned in my opening statement, my top 3 priorities are housing, climate, and transportation. We have some themes in common here. With housing, we need to add more supply to our housing stock. I believe that that is an opportunity for Menlo Park to be more sustainable and more equitable. But whether we like it or not, the state is going to be mandating that Menlo Park add more housing. The regional housing allocation is going to be coming from the Association of Bay Area Government. And in the last cycle, Menlo Park was told to add about 600 so units of housing. In this upcoming cycle, Menlo Park is projected to get over 3,000 units of housing to be added. So this is going to be a conversation coming to our community about how and where we're going to add this housing. For me, I'd like to see this housing throughout the city at all income levels. We have a history in Menlo Park of concentrating all of our development, especially our housing, and especially our affordable housing, in District 1. And in order for us to have a more sustainable, equitable future, we need to look at all of our neighborhoods to add housing. The second priority is climate. I support the City Council's recently adopted Climate Action Plan. Sea level rise is coming to Menlo Park, and it's coming soon. In the next 50 years or so, we're going to be seeing 3 to 10 feet of sea level rise, and it's likely that the entire Bellhaven community up to Highway 101 will be underwater. We need to make smart decisions now to avoid horrible decisions in the future. And as the Climate Action Plan states, every dollar we spend on action now can result in $100 of savings of climate adaptation in the future. And finally, safe streets, which is really how I got my start in local politics. We need to make our streets safe and accessible, and we need to be able to get around in ways other than a single occupancy vehicle. And I'm an avid e-bike rider. I think we have new technologies coming, and we need to do everything we can to promote alternative modes of transportation and get people out of cars.
Thank you. The second question will begin with Chelsea Nguyen, and then the next speaker would be Jen Wallison, and with Mr. Fennell, Max Fennell, third. So if you get that routine in your head, good, but if not, I'll remind us. Question 2. What have you done for District 3 in the past that makes you the best person to represent this district?
Thank you for the question. For District 3, I have been working more closely with the VA Menlo Park here. I care a great deal about the veterans who live there, who are confined there. As a veteran, I care about other veterans, and that's where my focus has been in the past several years.
Thank you for the question. I love District 3. It's really the heart of Menlo Park, and I'm very proud to live in our diverse district. I have been working in the community on the ground for about 4 years now, trying to make our streets safer. And I started my activism by looking at Coleman Avenue and seeing the conditions on the road on Coleman. And that's a street that kids traveling between the Laurel elementary schools, kids coming from East Palo Alto and Bellhaven needing to travel to MA have to travel on. And I've been working with the Menlo Oaks Homeowners Association, which is in the county part of the land, also working with the city of Menlo Park. We managed to get parking removed in the county part of the land. And I also managed to work to get a crosswalk at the corner of Santa Monica and Coleman to help children be able to cross the street, to be able to wait for the bus safely. But my work on Coleman isn't done. I still think that street needs work. But my work around safe routes has really been focused a lot in District 3, although really city and county-wide as well. I've also been paying very close attention and advocating for a safe grade separation, not only for cars, but also for bikes and peds. And so Middle Avenue Tunnel, which is going to be where the new Stanford development is a project I've been very much advocating for over the years and trying to make sure that the people that live in District 3 are able to get across town and vice versa. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I compete as a professional triathlete, and something that I've been very passionate about is bringing free swim lessons to community members. And one of the reasons I also took up this opportunity to run for city council was because I brought a proposal to the city of why we should offer free swim lessons to community members in Bellhaven. We currently have an underutilized pool in Bellhaven. When certain city council members turned down the idea, but meanwhile, we were having community members saying, hey, we can't pay for swim lessons. We need swim lessons. We need to have better access at Bellhaven. It continued to show that we elect individuals that are out of touch of our neighbors and our community members. It's extremely important that the people that we elect are from the people. And so when city council did not understand the importance of why we need to have programs that offer free swim lessons for community members who can't afford it, it reminds us that we can no longer accept the fact that we put people in places of power that don't bring about change. When you live in a $4 million house, you don't have the ability to connect with us. You don't have the ability to understand what our needs are. So what we continue to see is people say a lot of good things, but don't really bring any solutions to the table. So when they didn't take up this swimming initiative, it made me realize, hey, we need to get people in charge running for city council that will understand the needs of the people.
The next question, 3. How would you bring different perspectives to the table when considering issues that come before the council? And the first person to speak would be Mr. Fennell, then Chelsea Nguyen, and then Jen Wallison.
Well, for me, I naturally bring a different perspective to the table. I'm not a privileged person. I don't live in a multi-million-dollar house. I don't have all these benefits to rely on. So when I hear people, I actually connect with my community members. I have the ability to listen with empathy. I have the ability to relate because I've been in so many different situations. And when we're talking about District 3, we're talking about the majority of people that live here are renters. So the majority of people that are here are blue-collar individuals. That's who I am. I work paycheck to paycheck, right? I'm a small business owner. I understand the needs of our community members because I am the people. I don't have to take a seminar to understand what community members are going through. I've been through those experiences. So a lot of the times I'm drawing on personal experience because I'm going through it now. When you bring something to the table, I'm going to be able to be there. I can understand that. I've been through that type of situation. I can relate. I am always going to be able to relate to my neighbors and community members because I come from this neighborhood. I come from these people, and I have the voice of the people and the ability to relate so that we can actually bring about solutions that will help the situations that we're in.
Hi. You know, I have lived a very unique life. I understand racism, and I don't need to watch a video to learn about racism. I have been punched, kicked, pulled, dragged across the street by bullies because the color of my skin. Um, I'm a single working mother, and I can speak to other working families who understand what it is like to have to work to put food on the table, to pay rent or pay mortgage, and I still live month to month. Um, I don't I don't live in multi-million-dollar home. It took me 20 years to get the BMR list to own a home. And even with that, as a single mother and a single professional, I still struggle to make my mortgage. I don't see how, I also believe that um, the city council should have a diverse voice, um, different faces that represent America. And I don't think we have that. Um, I know that with my life and my experience as a refugee, I can bring different life perspective and professional uh, experience to the city council. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Next.
Yes, how would I reach out to all kinds of people in my community? It's not something I need to think about what I would do. It's something that I've been doing now for the last 4 years. As a community advocate, I've been very sensitive to the needs of people from all over the community. I've established relationships with community groups from all over town and the county, whether it's Bellhaven Action, Youth United for Community Action, the Boys and Girls Club, all different kinds of groups is very important for me to reach out and understand different perspectives and to share information. And that's something that I would expect to continue to do and do even more as a city council person. I think not only we have to consider the needs of people of different races, but we also need to consider the needs of people with different abilities in our community. I spoke recently with a mom who was talking about her son with disabilities and wanting to make sure that our parks were accessible for residents of all ages and abilities. Also, we have to keep in mind the needs of LGBTQ+ residents in our community. District 3 is over 50% renters, and there are many different people living in many different types of housing options in District 3. And I think that my ability to listen, to go out and talk to people, have an open mind and communicate is something that will serve District 3 very well.
Thank you. Thank you. We are now at question 4. So we'll go back to the original with Max Fennell first, then Chelsea Nguyen, and then Jan Wallison third.
I think I just went first. Didn't I?
Oh, hold on, pardon?
I believe I just went first.
Um,
I think it should be Chelsea.
You're probably right. Let me go back to that. Well, we're starting back where we were with question one, because there are three people.
Okay.
So that's okay. Thank you for your input. I can certainly use it, but we'll go with at the what I just said. There are several collector arteries in Menlo Park that could benefit from traffic calming, but such methods have not been implemented. Willow Road between Middlefield and Highway 101 is included in District 3, as you know. Please state your position on implementing traffic calming along Willow Road, including electronic speed reporting signs, painted meridians, and bulb outs with reflectors, and a pedestrian crosswalk at Nash.
Well, as I initially stated, I compete as a professional triathlete. So I actually bike all over Menlo Park and I bike all over the community. And I live here on Coleman Avenue, which is right off of Willow Road. And I bike up and down that. The benefit of having calming devices is going to slow down that traffic. I actually have had friends in car accidents. I just had another friend in this area in a car accident. So I understand the benefit of us having traffic calming devices that are going to slow down the traffic, because a lot of us do have alternative methods. So that's something I strongly support. And I actually think we need to go a little bit further and actually paint the alternative sections for transportation. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi. So I do support the traffic calming measures, whether it's structural or we can put various devices to ensure that the traffic moves slower, to protect the cyclists. I know there are a lot of cyclists usually on Willow Road, and also for pedestrians. And I also know that there is a VA residents, veterans there that use the sidewalk a lot. And I have seen a few times that often because of their mental status, they don't pay attention. So I think that it's very important that we have traffic calming measures to place between Middlefield and the freeway. Thank you.
I am very much in support of traffic calming measures, not only on Willow Road, but throughout our city. As the engineers have documented, speed kills, and the difference between a car hitting a pedestrian or a cyclist traveling at 40 miles an hour versus 30 miles an hour versus 20 miles an hour really makes a difference in terms of fatalities and serious injuries. And Menlo Park is a Vision Zero city, which means that we are working to have zero traffic fatalities. And so we need to do everything we can to make our city streets safe. Now, the way to make our city streets safe is not just to say, okay, this is the speed limit on a street. The only real way that cars are slowed is by designing the visual look of the street and the engineering of the street to actually force cars to slow down. So I absolutely support things that will slow down cars. And these should not take years and years. We need standards in our city so that we can treat our streets as a place for people and humans to be able to walk and bike comfortably, not hostile to people getting around. It's also important to note that District 3 has many arterial roadways that are hard for us to get through. We have Middlefield, where I live. It's quite scary trying to make a left turn from Middlefield towards downtown. And so we need to be looking at what we can do to make our streets more friendly for people to cross. We can't just create these neighborhood islands that people have to drive to. We have to make our city interconnected. I also want to point out that our residents who live on these streets like Willow Road or Santa Cruz Avenue, they're living in neighborhoods, and we need to treat their street as a neighborhood. So I'd like to live in a kind of city that is walkable, that we can have our children feel comfortable going out to the corner store. And I absolutely support traffic calming measures.
Thank you. The next question, question 5, has to do with the Menlo Park Fire Protection District. And for this one, Chelsea Nguyen will speak first, Jan Wallison, and then Max Fennell. And the question is, how would you rate the Menlo Park Fire Protection District? Are you satisfied with their services to Menlo Park? Any suggestions to improve the service?
Hi. So I love our fire department. My daughter is a special needs child, and for years she would run into issues, and as a mother sometimes I panicked and I didn't know what to do, and often I had to call 911. And in all those times, the fire department always were the first one that show up, not the EMT paramedics, but the fire departments. And they have saved my daughter's life numerous times. So kudos to them. I support them. I don't think that there is anything that they have done that I would disagree with. I think that they have been great to the city. They have been great to me, to my family. I think that's, yes. Thank you.
I also agree that we have an excellent fire district in the Menlo. Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. I also agree with Chelsea that we have an excellent fire district. And I think in the age of wildfires that are burning, if we don't have a deeper appreciation for the work of firefighters, I don't know what. I do think that the Menlo Park Fire District sometimes gets some flack for the amount of tax revenue that they get, but that's something that's decided at a higher level, and that's not within the jurisdiction of the City Council to judge. And I think what they do with their money in terms of planning for the future and acquiring additional property makes sense given the revenue sources that they have. I've been working with the fire district now for about 4 years. When I first started Parents for Safe Routes, I reached out to the fire district, met with Chief Schapelhuman and then board president Peter Carpenter, and really discussed our shared values. We all really care about safety and making sure that members of our community can get around and live their lives as safely as possible. And one of the areas that I'm keeping an eye on for the fire district is grade separation. We need to make sure that our train is grade separated in a way that allows the fire district to continue to be able to circulate around town and not be delayed by train gates that are down for long periods of time. So as a city council person, I will keep the fire district top of mind. I believe in proactive communication. And I see us having not only shared values, but shared constituents, and keeping the best interest of Menlo Park residents top of mind is in all of our best interest.
Thank you. Thank you.
For me,
yes.
For me, every time I walk down and I pass the fire department, I notice that they're always training, and that just kind of reminds me to myself of how much training I have to put into my craft. and I actually appreciate what they're doing. It's always just kind of nice. You see the community members, our neighbors just standing out watching what our fire department's doing. And actually for me, when I was younger, I actually thought about becoming a firefighter. Even now, I've kind of thought about how I could get involved with CAL FIRE, just with fighting the fires and stuff like that. So for what that has done is I just had this strong appreciation for those that are in service. I come from a family of military servicemen. I was raised as a person to be in service of others. I'm doing this now so that I can have my way of being in service for folks. So whenever I walk down the street or run past or I bike past, there's just that strong appreciation of knowing that you are protected by these highly trained individuals that put in so much time. They're so selfless and they just work tirelessly to protect us. And I just have so much strong appreciation for that. And I'm just extremely grateful for what they do for us.
All right. So we are now at question 6, and Jen Willison speaks first, then Max Fennell, and then Chelsea Nguyen. How would you, and you've all already talked about this, but it gives you a chance to expand on what you've spoken about already. How would you address the shortfall of affordable housing in Menlo Park?
Thank you for that question. Menlo Park has a shortfall of housing at all income levels. So while I absolutely support more affordable housing, I support housing at all income levels throughout Menlo Park, especially missing middle housing, which would be housing where people don't qualify for below market rate housing because they make too much, but they don't have enough for market rate housing. So those would be our teachers, our police officers, our restaurant workers, those that are a lot of the essential workers that we're seeing on the front lines today of COVID-19. Regarding affordable housing, yes, we absolutely need affordable housing. And as I mentioned before, we need affordable housing where we have jobs and transit. And we can't keep putting all of our affordable housing in District 1. We need to look at our public land, whether it's our parking lots or even potentially with the redevelopment of a new library to see if there's opportunities for public land there. We need to revisit our inclusionary housing policy, which is currently at 15%. So when a developer does market rate housing, they're required to either set aside or pay an in lieu fee for affordable housing. I am in support of moving that from 15 to 20%. There was a recently published report from BAE, a consultant that the city hired to look at, actually I think Facebook funded it from a development agreement, but that looked at whether this increase in inclusionary housing policy would be feasible. And so what it showed is that it would be feasible right now in District 1, but that developers might not be willing to build in the downtown core with the 20% inclusionary policy, which means we have to look at relaxing our zoning requirements to make that feasible. So these are the hard, intricate details and work that I feel ready to dive into and knowledgeable about, and that matter very much to me.
Next.
I think it's important that when we bring up affordable housing, that we are reminded of the importance of making sure that whoever we elect is someone that can relate to people that are renting right now. Because what is your definition of affordable housing? Someone that lives in a multi-million-dollar house is going to say affordable housing is $4,000 or $3,200, right? To me, affordable housing is $700. So first of all, what is your definition of affordable housing? And that is why we need to elect someone who can understand the needs of the people, but isn't having to assume what our needs are or is taking seminars. Second, let's talk about real solutions. We have office buildings right now that are empty. Let's adjust the code. Let's talk to those property managers. Let's just say, hey, if you're not, what's the likelihood we really think the certain VC firm's going to move back in here? Can we incentivize you to step in and convert this office building? I'm a renter right now, right? There's an exodus happening right now. If you live in an apartment building, every apartment building is being turned over. So we talk about affordable housing, but there's an issue going on right now. And we need to address that issue now, and it has to happen quickly. I was recently discriminated against. I just moved. I've moved 5 or 6 times, right? I'm not a multimillionaire. I'm not living in a multi-million-dollar house of this comfort. So when people say affordable housing, I've talked to people on the street paying $2,500, $3,200, $3,600. So where's the solution going to come from if you're not directly affected from this? And this is a significant crisis, and that's why we need to elect someone who understands what we're going through.
Thank you. Next.
Hi. Well, I am so passionate about this issue because I rented in Menlo Park for many, many years. And then during which time I had to be on the BMR list. That took 20 years for me to get off of it as a single mother of 3 children. That said, I just don't want to talk about it. You know, we have been at this now, like I said previously, so many years. Nothing has changed. Nothing really has changed much. We missed an opportunity in 2012 for the Pacific development. What I really want now is change. We need to, number one, revitalize downtown Menlo Park. And by doing so, I think we can also take care of the affordable housing issue. Behind the main street, the main stores and shops and restaurants, behind those businesses are tons of parking space. I propose that we use one block of that, we build underground parking to 2 levels, down to 2 levels. On the first floor, we have mixed use businesses, restaurants, offices, you name it, whatever, yoga place. And then the second and the third floors would be for 2 bedrooms for young families who cannot afford, they're not there yet, they haven't made it yet, and they need housing for families, young families, or low-income family, 2-bedroom homes, 2-bedroom apartments. And then on the 3rd and the 4th level, on the 4th and the 5th level would be module apartments, studios type for single people and or couples. The reason is, if we do that, we also will be.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Your time is up, but you can use the closing statement to develop that if you want.
Thank you.
We are at question 7 now, and that is like with the very beginning. Max Fennell first, excuse me, Chelsea Nguyen second, and Jan Wallison third. And this question is one simple sentence, not necessarily a simple answer, but a simple question. Do you support the establishment of an independent redistricting commission? Go ahead.
And was I the first, because you kind of, am I the first one to answer?
Yes, you are, yes.
So that is an interesting topic that I would still like for us to talk more about. I think these are our first time with our districts, and I feel as though that the districts of how they are drawn are fine right now. I think the most important thing actually is making sure that we elect someone now who is a direct representative of the people of District 3, right? This is the first time we are going to have a representative for District 3 of a district that's made up of majority of renters. We have an exodus happening of housing, so we're dealing with a housing crisis right now, and it's extremely important right now that the person that we elect is someone that has a direct stake in what is going on, and that will bring about real change and real solutions because they are in this situation.
Thank you. Do you wish me to repeat
Yes,
the question? Please. Sure. Do you support the establishment of an independent redistricting commission?
Thank you for the question. I do. I'm glad that we have the the different districts now, because this is the reason why I think I'm able to run for city council. I think it would at large before I would not be able to do that. But I think that we have to put somebody that is not, the representation has to be for all different people, different faces, different ethnic groups, different economic backgrounds, not just the very few. I don't know how this would work if it's the only people that make the decisions are the ones that are privileged. Thank you.
Excuse me. I absolutely support an independent redistricting commission for the redistricting that'll be taking place soon. In 2018, Menlo Park shifted from at-large to district elections, and we had our first district elections for districts 1, 2, and 4. And when we went through that process, we had an advisory district committee, and that group met and made recommendations on how the lines would be drawn. And they ended up submitting 2 options to the city council, and the city council ultimately got to pick which map and which districting lines they wanted to go with. The top way to do that Common Cause, which is an organization that supports fair government, that they recommend is an independent districting commission, which is a group of Menlo Park residents who can be picked many different ways. It could be a lottery, it could be so many in each district, but that ultimately it's the independent districting commission that gets the final say about the maps. And this really prevents any kind of political decision-making into the districting process. And I fully support that decision. Right now, I'm not sure exactly when it ends, but the census is about to end, the 2020 census. So if you haven't filled it out and you still have a chance, I think it might be today is the deadline. The information from the census that's ending now will feed into the new city population numbers. And in the next couple of years, the city council, the city will have to redraw our district maps. So as much as we love living in District 3 right now, and we're very proud of that, the lines will likely change, especially due to the increase in development and housing that's been added to District 1. So it's very important that however the lines are drawn, they're drawn fairly and in a way that doesn't have any political involvement.
Thank you. 8. And for this one, Chelsea Nguyen will speak first, and then Jen Wallison second, and Max Fennell third. And question 8 is about budgets. What do you think about district-specific budgets versus a citywide consensus budgeting process?
That's an excellent question. I think that to go with the budget district would be a great idea, because then we can localize the social services that district needs. I'm all for it. I think, like Max said, that there are, with the Belhaven pool, and the people are not having free swim lessons. I think it's really good that, I mean, it wouldn't matter much if we really try to make it equal, so that way every district is, their social services are protected and utilized. I think that there are rich districts out there and the poor district, and we need to be mindful of the fact that we are a community as a whole, the whole of Menlo Park. And I think we need to look at making sure that our individual districts are taken care of, no matter, whether or not you're in District 5 or you're District 1, that the budget has to be equitable in the sense. It doesn't have to be divided equally among 5 districts, but it should be given to the one that is most needed, like let's say District 1 or District 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Yeah, I think this comes down to what the impact is on a city when you move from at-large to district elections. And the way I interpret the role of a city council member who's been elected by district is that they are accessible to their district, that they are kind of the boots on the ground that they see, and they're walking around their district, meeting with their residents, making sure that they're elevating the issues that are important to the residents in their district. But fundamentally, the role of city council is to be a city council person for the entire city. I am not in support of any type of district budgeting. This was actually raised at the last city council meeting. There was an idea that each district city council member should have a $5,000 discretionary fund to spend kind of at will in the district. And I don't think that's a helpful idea. There are issues in every different district that need attention, and all city council members should care about those issues. District 1 in particular, 60% of District 1 residents are rent burdened. That means that they spend more than 30% of their income on rent. We need to undo our horrible history of redlining and racial segregation in our town and make investments to move towards a more equitable future for Menlo Park. And by having different district needs compete with each other, would not serve the city well. Instead, we need to look at citywide policies and standards that will benefit all residents. Every decision on council needs to be made with 3 votes. So it's important that whoever is elected on city council can work with the members of the city council to make sure that the issues that are most important to them and their residents are addressed and met with consensus and enough votes on council. And if we start moving to have one district against another district, I don't believe that's in the city's best interest.
Thank you. Next.
I would like to hear more about what the options are of how we would implement district budgets. But initially, I am not going to be for a district budget simply because my biggest question is, where's the money going to come from? And are we going to tax certain people differently? And I feel like that's going to lead to a whole host of issues, opposed to what we really need to be doing is electing individuals who understand what is going on in our districts and being able to take that to the city council. Redlining is a significant issue, but that primarily affects people like me. I was talking to an individual who recently is being discriminated against, and she reached out to me and we were talking about that. Most people don't know this, but certain deeds still say they won't allow renting to Blacks and won't allow renting to Asians. So when we bring up these issues, do we really feel the impact, or are we just bringing up these issues to sound correct? And that's why we need to elect individuals that are going to represent people and represent us in District 3 who actually feel these burdens and will be able to allocate on our behalf, advocate on our behalf.
Thank you. Now, okay, the next question is a short one, but the 10th, I'll tell you, the 10th one is a long one. So get ready for that one for 2 minutes. The 9th question. And for this, Jen Wallison will go first. Excuse me, it's the other way. Max Fennell will go first, and then Chelsea Nguyen, and then Jen Wallison. And it has to do with schools. Do you support Proposition 15, schools and communities first?
I do support Proposition 15 of schools and communities first. I personally do not have any children, but what I can point to as a significant situation that really significantly bothers me is one day I was leaving my apartment and I was driving down Coleman Avenue, and a young Black kid was biking down the street and he was pulled over by a Menlo police officer. What that made me realize is, wow, there's a systemic issue that's going on in our community. And it is very important that when it comes to education and community relations, that it's equal, right? And it's very important that when it comes to our schools, it's also equal. And I don't believe that things are equal for children in this community. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Hi. Yes, I absolutely support Proposition 15. I raised my 3 children here in the Menlo Park School District, and I believe that we should put our money into the school to support our school and our children because they are future. I think that's pretty much sum up because I have experience here now with my children for 20 years in the school system, more than 20 years. Thank you.
I also support Proposition 15. I think it's a good first step in reforming Proposition 13, which Proposition 15 taxes commercial entities when the property increases in value, turns over. I think that Prop 15, while it might bring some money to our community, our schools, it would also bring money statewide that is needed desperately in other communities as well. But in general, I, of course, support more funding for our communities and schools.
Thank you. Question 10 has to do with the fires and the air pollution and ways of alleviating that locally. It's a long question, but it may not be any longer an answer. Due to the recent fires, the Bay Area has experienced a record-breaking 28 consecutive Spare the Air days. On declared Spare the Air days, Menlo Park's noise ordinance prohibits the use of gas leaf blowers. However, during this period, except on weekends, I personally heard and saw gas leaf blowers in use in my immediate neighborhood multiple times a day. Spare the Air days are likely to continue. How would you undertake the following? And then there are 3 items. How would you undertake? 1, educate homeowners to inform their gardeners to either use an electric leaf blower or rake on declared Spare the Air days, ? Educate commercial landscapers and gardeners on this ordinance when working in Menlo Park on Spare the Air days. 3, enforce the ordinance if it continues to be flouted by the same offender.
I think I go first. Is it me? Am I going first?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So yes, I have noticed this too. I think that educate the homeowners, educate the gardeners would be the first start. I think there are many ways that we can do this is through our local Nextdoor app and try to ask people to really honor the ordinance and not have their gardeners use gas blowers. I absolutely believe that. The problem is that there'll be people who will break rules and laws and they will continue to do so. And if that's the case, if this continued to happen, then I think that we should enforce it, and we would not just only find the gardeners, the service people, but we should also find the homeowners who allow this to happen. I think that one way to educate and to make sure that people understand that this is the ordinance is to by messaging. We should have a messaging sent to homeowners around the city to let them know Often people do not sign up for newsletter on the Menlo Park website, so they may not know that there's an ordinance out there. So we need to let people know. If they don't know, then they don't know, that they wouldn't know that they are breaking the law. It's really important that we need to inform the residents of such ordinances. Thank you.
Okay, Jen.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that gas leaf blowers are annoying and bad for our health. I've been looking at the petition that's circulating on Nextdoor. I've met with advocates on this topic. I even today stopped someone that was using a gas leaf blower and reminded them that it was a spare the air day. There's certainly issues with breathing and asthma to ourselves and our gardeners. There's noise, it's a quality of life issue. I think the important thing to remember when we're looking at using city resources on gas leaf blowers and enforcement is that our biggest existential threat in terms of the air and the fires is climate change. And if we don't get a handle on climate change, we're just going to get more and more fires. And every resource that the city spends right now, and we are down in our staffing, and every item that's taken up at the city level means another item isn't taken up. Every resource we spend right now on gas leaf blowers means we won't be able to spend that time and that resource on the climate action plan that was recently adopted by the city council that looks to make real change with climate change, being building electrification, reducing vehicle miles traveled, getting more electric vehicle charging. And so while I completely understand the issue with gas leaf blowers, I don't think at this time it's an issue that the city should necessarily take on. That being said, I am thrilled that there are advocates looking at this issue and working on this issue, and I would encourage them very much to go forward and continue their advocacy efforts, focusing on education, maybe a bilingual flyer that can be handed out to homeowners and their gardeners. I think we also really need to be careful when we're looking at enforcement with gardeners that there's an equity issue here, and we don't want to penalize those that are working very hard in our community. And I also think we need to be careful when we're looking at using enforcement as a strategy. Our traffic unit was actually just cut because of our budget.
Thank you. All right. We are now going to go.
I didn't answer.
Oh, excuse me. Go for it.
It's okay. Well, I think the first thing I think we need to do is add more air monitors. I know when I go on the purple air map, I see there's a few monitors. So I would like us to figure out if we can get more air monitors in the community. Second, I think I would like to see more digital signs. I feel as though that when you have those digital signs that are on main streets saying that it's spare the alert, that just kind of heightens people's awareness, and it kind of makes things a little bit awkward if you were to use a gas leaf blower during these spare the alert. And then I'm also reluctant to put some type of fine on those. I think education is the way to go. I think making it awkward during certain times is the way to go, simply because I've worked a landscaping job. I understand what it's like to be a landscaper. I'm also a small business owner, so I can relate, and I don't want to be taking money out of someone's hand. I think that this is an issue that we can easily get a hold of simply just educating folks, highlighting the importance and just being respectful of our neighbors, and really just educating those landscapers. It's easy for them to rake up certain leaves, but that just comes down to marketing and social media posts and digital signs.
Thank you. We're now going to go to questions from tonight's audience, and we're going to go with the ones that came in first. And everybody's working hard here, and thank you so much for all of your answers. I've got to pull those up. And at this point, we're on question 11. And if you'll bear with me, right or wrong, we'll put Max Fennell first. No, I'm sorry. Question 11 would have Chelsea Nguyen first, Jen Wallison second, and then Max Fennell last, as he is this time. But don't ask me why. I'm following a form and doing the best I can with it. And we are getting some diversity in number, where you answer.
I think I spoke first on the last
Okay.
question.
Right. So that way, as I have it here, Jen Wallison would speak first, Max Fennell second, and you last for this next question. So if you can keep track better than I am very grateful for that. This has to do with regard to additional housing, and you all have to be magicians for this answer. With regards to additional housing, where would you, thank you. The question is, with regard to additional housing, where would you put it? And please go ahead.
Yes, this is a topic near and dear to me, and I'll state one of my priorities again, that we need housing at all income levels throughout the city. Historically, in the last housing element, which is the last planning document that determines where we're going to be adding more housing, we've kind of put our housing in District 1 and kind of out of sight, out of mind for a lot of Menlo Park residents. And we can no longer do that for both sustainability and equity reasons. We need to put housing primarily, first and foremost, near transit, so near Caltrain. We need to put it near amenities and services, so near our downtown. There are also some sites that have, for example, the USGS site on Middlefield Road is being sold, and that's an opportunity to add more housing. But also the area up in Sharon Heights where the Safeway is, that could be a contender for more housing. We really need to have every location on the table right now as we have a community conversation about where we're going to add more housing and at all the different income levels. In addition, we need to take a good hard look at every neighborhood in Menlo Park. There's a group called Strong Towns, and they have a quote, and I'm paraphrasing, and it says, "No neighborhood should undergo radical change, and no neighborhood should be exempt from change." And right now, our 80% of our city is zoned for single family housing. So that's 80% of our residential lots only permit one house on a lot. We need to look at rezoning our single family lots and to be able to absorb and accommodate the over 3,000 units that we're going to be mandated to build. Right now, you can build accessory dwelling units on single family lots. It's a new state law that passed January 1st, and it's now possible to have 3 units, your main unit, accessory unit, and garage or attic conversion. And if we're already allowing 3 units on a lot to accommodate the ADU laws, we also need to look at allowing that in duplexes and triplexes.
I think the biggest thing that comes, I think the first thing that comes to mind for me as someone that is a renter in dealing with the housing situation is, why are we not addressing the situation now of the high cost of living? So why are we okay with rent being $3,200? The question is, where are we going to put more housing? So yes, let's put more housing around transit, but why is it okay that there's currently luxury apartments of downtown Menlo Park? Why have we allowed that to happen? So we have the places, we have the space for housing, we have the empty rental units now that can provide housing for us now. There's no need to go build other places, right? We can convert certain places now. We can go to the people that are promoting the luxury building and say, hey, why do you guys need to be luxury? Can you not offer reasonable rent right now? Why are you guys why are you charging $3,200, $3,500 across from Safeway? Why isn't the person that works at Safeway doesn't have the ability to live at the luxury apartments down the street? So I would love to create, to think of places of where we could put housing, but there are places right now that are empty, that are labeled as luxury housing, that could be housing people right now. And I think that is the issue that we need to address immediately, is those of us that are renting now, how can we lower our costs, and how can we go to these current buildings that are empty and get them to say, stop saying luxury, and how about you offer a reasonable amount for rent?
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm glad that this subject is back again because I can continue what I was talking about the last time. So my idea of where we put this, like I mentioned, we use that, say, one block, the first block behind Walgreens and Starbucks right there, that we can use to build more housing. It On one hand, it will solve the housing issues. Secondly, it will also revitalize the city. We can rezone it to the as R-MU for uh, mixed use complex. Um, yeah, and there are many parking lots that we can use to build and use them for underground parking and do the same thing. And of course, we would be, we should also allow essential personnel like teachers. They don't make a lot of money. Firefighters, just folks who they don't have to travel so far to come to our city and work. Secondly, I want to address the issue of developer in our, in our cities. We have allowed a lot of developers coming in, building these luxury homes and apartments, but we only force them to only give 15% of that. And this is going back to my first answer, is that we have to raise this to at least 25 to 30%. The middle class is shrinking, and we need to support our residents. They're being forced out of the city because we don't have cheap housing for them. I guess I'll table that for next time.
All right. So everyone has covered this question, correct? Yeah. Okay. This question has to do with traffic again. Do you think, and we're going to go with Max Fennell first, Chelsea Nguyen second, and Jen Wallison third. And I think this probably will be close to our last question. There might be one more, but this is almost the end of the question, and then closing statements. Do you think that narrowing Willow Road from a 6-lane overpass to 2-lane road near Middlefield is working? In other words, you understand, I said,
Narrow Willow Road.
It's not, I'm going to have to read this again.
I don't know if that makes sense, that question.
Yeah.
Because there's no overpass.
All right. We can take a pass on that one, and we can try it again when we see each other again sometime. But I'll read it one more time so you can give it a try. Because that was a question that was sent into the Q&A by people who are listening in at the webinar tonight. Do you think that narrowing Willow Road from a 6-lane overpass to a 2-lane road near Middlefield is working?
So
We'll take that one. Let's take that one as a separate question first.
Would you like me to answer that?
Yeah, because I'm not sure what overpass.
And then the second part of the question is, was this created for Facebook and Caltrans?
So I think they're saying Middlefield, but I think you mean Bay Road.
No, that shouldn't. May I answer this question so this way, maybe Max? Yeah. Okay. So I understand we had expanded the overpass area near the freeway, where we expanded to 6-lane, 3 on each side, and then it's became a bottleneck. It's moving closer to Middlefield. As it's move closer to Middlefield, it becomes only 2-lane, 1 on each side, and it makes it difficult because when people are coming through, then it make it congested for the people, for the folks, especially living closer to Middlefield, the Willow Road area. I understand understand, I think it does benefit Facebook because a lot of the traffic going from the freeway, they turn right onto Facebook and, you know, to the right to the toward the Bay Road. And so, but I think that it's good and it's bad. I do see that there's a bottleneck issue there because all of the 3 lanes become 2 and then become 1 on one side. And so it's a bit harder for the folks living in Willow Road. So I agree that it was not a good plan. Thank you.
Yeah, I can answer that now because now I know
All right, go ahead.
Because different, but so what I had noticed when they were building that, I was trying to see if that was going to help with the traffic on Willow Road. And I don't know if we've necessarily gotten a really good test because COVID kind of happened right when that overpass was finished. But I noticed that initially it helped a little bit, but there is still a significant amount of traffic block that happens on Willow Road. So I think it's helped a little bit for those that are trying to get out to head down south and maybe north, but we really haven't seen it working in normal times, right? I still see traffic there, but nowhere near how things were back in January and February. It's still open. So I do remember being like, how is this overpass working if Willow Road's still backed up? But that still isn't enough data for us to judge if it was a good plan or not.
Okay. Jen Wallison.
Yeah, I think we need to acknowledge that a lot of the traffic we see on Willow Road and in our city is regional traffic. I think that there's a statistic used a lot that like 80% of traffic going through Menlo Park neither begins or ends in Menlo Park. So we have to recognize that we're going to need to work on these issues with regional partners and in big ways. And one of the projects that I'm hoping will address some of our traffic that I was hoping was the Dumbarton Rail Project, which Facebook was funding and which hopefully will continue in some way. Another way we can address our traffic regionally is with Caltrain. And I very much support Measure RR, and I encourage everyone listening to vote in support of Measure RR, which is to save Caltrain. Caltrain takes 4 cars, granted this is pre-COVID pandemic, but Caltrain reduces traffic. It takes 4 lanes of traffic off of our Highway 101. And we really need to do everything we can to keep Caltrain going. We also, in order to make a more sustainable future, we need to get fewer cars on the road. 56%, according to our climate action plan, 56% of the greenhouse gas emissions in Menlo Park is from vehicles. So we need to do everything we can to invest in transit and better biking and walking, and to work with our regional partners on these regional solutions so that people that need to get where they need to go in our region can do so without getting in their private automobile.
Thank you. There is one more question, and if you could agree to just answer it in 1 minute, I think a lot of people would be interested, at least in your 1-minute answers, and then we'll go to the closing statements. There are too many chain stores in Menlo Park. How would you encourage and support independent businesses in Menlo Park and ensure there is sufficient parking downtown? And why don't we go with Max Fennell first, and then Jen Wallison, and then Chelsea Nguyen.
Well, I agree. I'm a small business owner. I'm a coffee owner of Fenn Coffee. We currently are in the process of opening up a brick and mortar, so I have a lot of experience of what it's like to be a small business owner. And I've actually talked to a bunch of property managers and owners of the empty retail spaces. One of the ideas that I had for small businesses that I would like to see is I would like to see the city step in and actually lease these buildings and then offer those opportunities to small businesses like myself that live in this area. I think it would be great of having small businesses the opportunity to have a 6-month lease that the city either covers part of to allow diversity in our downtown of small businesses instead of these large businesses.
Thank you. Next.
One of my favorite places in Menlo Park is Cafe Zoe in the Willows. And while it's not in District 3, it brings a lot of people from District 3 there. And I think we all would love to see more Cafe Zoe type businesses throughout the city. And I was at the city council meeting when Kathleen, the owner of Cafe Zoe, called in right when the pandemic hit and begged the city council to allow small businesses to be able to innovate during this hard time. And I think the biggest focus right now for our small businesses is to kind of get out of the way and help small businesses by allowing them to use the parking spaces to allow their restaurants to expand as we have, making sure that we allow for safe social distancing and safe movement of people in our downtown area. But I very much support doing whatever we can to keep our small businesses alive. I think that the businesses and the people that work in those businesses are part of what makes our community so wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi. So what I really like, I know that there are some chained stores and shops there, but we do have small businesses downtown Menlo Park. I think the first thing I would like to do is to close the entire Santa Cruz Avenue, the downtown area, to make it a pedestrian for walkers only, and allow the restaurant to bring out the tables. And during this COVID, this is really important for the small businesses to thrive. We can, like I said, build parking structure for free on the side where behind the businesses so that people can park underground parking. And that's one way to solve the issue. Thank you.
Thank you. We are coming to the closing statements of 2 minutes each, and you will speak in the reverse order with Jan Wallison first, and then Chelsea Nguyen second, and Max Fennell, the closing speaker. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Linda, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for holding this important event. The way I see it, this election is about values, vision, and leadership. And for me, the values that I would apply to my decision-making on City Council are sustainability and equity. Our leaders need to see what's happening today, but also be looking towards the future. And for me, that's what having a sustainable city would be all about. And in terms of equity, we need to address our city's history of redlining and racial segregation that has concentrated most of our development in one part of the city. And we need policies that will address the widening opportunity gap. For vision, we have an opportunity now to shape our community into one that will strengthen our neighborhoods and our futures. We need more affordable and accessible housing for people of all stages of life, from grad students to young families to senior citizens. We need safe streets so that a 10-year-old can go walk and get an ice cream cone without fearing for his or her safety. I envision a city that's walkable, bikeable, tree-lined. We need more Cafe Zoes. We have such an opportunity here to have an inclusive and equitable recovery when we come out of COVID-19. And to get there, we're going to need strong leadership. We're going to need a leader who can bring people together, who has experience organizing in our community, who has policy knowledge and understands the levers at the City Council's disposal to get these things done. I love District 3. It's the heart of Menlo Park. We have renters, homeowners, we have retail, transit, parks, our civic center. And as your District 3 resident, I vow to listen, to be accessible, to apply my values, and to work hard. You can learn more about me at jenwallison.com, and I respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you. Next. Go ahead. Chelsea Nguyen, unmute
Yes.
yourself. Yeah. You have your closing statement. Yeah.
I run as a voice for the working families, for the disadvantaged residents and renters. I believe the city needs people from different backgrounds on the council. We need more people of color. Someone told me once, we bring our life experiences to the council and not the other way around. The council should not be a place for only for the privileged. We cannot solve the city's problems with a one-dimensional voice. Diverse voices will allow the city to flourish and become more compassionate. The city should represent the faces of the residents and of America, not just the faces of the privileged few. Let's open the door and bring diversity to the council. My website is www.chelsea4mp.com. I hope you will vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
In my opening statement, I brought up the fact that another candidate, before I even decided to run, chose to try and silence my voice. They chose to silence the voice of the people that I represent. I would never silence my neighbor. I would never silence my community member. I would not go around using a privilege and speaking for other people. I am running for city council so that we can have a real honest voice that represents us. I am running for city council so that we can have change right now. There's no fluff with me. I don't have a prepared speech because I can speak from the heart, because I come from the people. I don't sit on a false background and portray it as something that I'm not. I am real, and we need to elect people. With what is going on in our society, we need to elect people that when they speak in public, they are not someone different in private. We need to elect people that understand different point of views. We need to elect people that can relate to us and not take seminars and not assume and not try and understand where we come from and not just say the right things. We need to elect people in 2020 that are the people, that come from the people, because we, the people, matter. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for your participation, your willingness to run for this important office, and to be with us here this evening. Good luck. We thank our league team members and Mid-Penn Media Center for assisting us tonight. And we thank you, the audience, for coming, and remind you to vote between now and November 3rd. As a reminder, be sure to look up additional information about the candidates and both state and local measures, as well as a video replay of this forum to be posted soon on our league website. Go to www.votersedge.org.